You know what the irony of life is? The irony of life. The doctor hopes you get sick. The police hopes you become a criminal. The lawyer hopes you get into trouble. The priest hopes you get married. The coffin maker wants you dead. Only a thief wishes you prosperity in this life. I do want to begin with acknowledging and honoring Black History Month. Absolutely. Which reminds us that Black history is not just a separate story, but an essential part of our American and human story. A quick note on how it came about. In February 1926, historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a son of formerly enslaved people, launched Negro History Week. Dr. Woodson chose the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, two giants who pushed our nation toward freedom. Now, Dr. Woodson created this week to challenge a society that ignored the contributions of Black people to this nation's life and culture. And as some of you may know, in 1976, this initiative expanded into the full month that we experience now. Now, as spiritual seekers, we recognize that this is a time to honor God's creation of everyone. And that includes every single race, every color, every mix, whatever you want it to be, right? Now, of course, we need to keep this message of unity, especially in these challenging times that we're going through in the world, not just in this country. And it is for us to continue this journey to work on justice, to work on reconciliation, on truth, and having compassion for our neighbor. Now, I believe that our collective lack consciousness is why we have a world of uncertainty right now in all public areas of life. Therefore, we must sustain this work of unity in these challenging times. Now, to accomplish this, we are called to move from a mindset of scarcity to one of divine abundance. Who's up for that? By cultivating a prosperity mindset, we are better equipped to be conduits of blessings rather than hatred. Now, this allows us to pour into our communities all those blessings that we ourselves get, and we can impart those blessings onto our community. And we can stop seeing our fellow humans as the others. Now, knowing that by seeing diversity as a blessing, we have riches of culture, ingenuity, and community. Now, how do we practice this prosperity mindset? Well, I'm glad you asked. And before I go on, I want to let you know that a lot of what I'm going to be saying here this morning, I actually got, and it's just a brief part of it because it's it's a big book. But it's from a book from our co-founder, Unity co-founder, Charles Fillmore, and that book is called Prosperity. And there's a lot of good stuff in there if you want to look it up. Now, we know that Charles Fillmore co-founded Unity with his wife, Myrtle Fillmore. And as some of you might know, Unity actually started through prayer. Thanks to what Myrtle Fillmore did for herself by healing herself of tuberculosis just with prayer. And after her husband Charles saw what she did, he wanted to find out what it was all about. And he started doing prayer and meditation. And he was also working on himself. And he took it a step further, and between the two of them, they actually founded a school of Christianity. And they weren't meaning to make Unity a church. They started with teachings. And they wanted people to go and learn, to have a better experience spiritually, and so that they can take it back to their own churches and grow with it. But I guess it got so popular that people started demanding for it to become a church. So that's the movement of unity that we have now. And we are grateful for them for that. So what are these things that we need to practice prosperity with? I'd like to start with the first one, which is decide and proclaim that you want to focus on prosperity. In simple terms, speak word to power. You may or may not know, and I think you do if you're here in Unity, that substance first starts in mind, right? We talk about that, whatever you put in your mind, you can bring about, especially if you really focus on it and you bring feeling into it. Now we're always creating our world, right, of prosperity or non-prosperity, depending on what you focus on, right? You're either doing it consciously or unconsciously, and that's what you're creating in your world. Who wants to be conscious instead of unconscious here? I hope all of you are. Okay, I saw some hands. Okay. So yes, we want to be conscious of what we're doing, especially when it comes around prosperity. And if you've been here for any length of time, you know that prosperity is not just about money, I hope, right? Prosperity is about anything in your life. It has to do with health, relationships, whatever you are dealing with in your life, you want it to have prosperity in that sense. Now, I talk about how you have to make a decision. So I'd like to read from Job 22, verse 28. And we read, "You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways." And I like to actually quote Charles Fillmore from this book of prosperity. He says, and think about what this is saying. When you recognize the presence of abundance of air and open your lungs to breathe it deeply, you get a larger inspiration. Think about that. He goes on to say, this is exactly what you should do with your mind in regard to substance. Does that make sense to anybody? I hope it does, right? Imagine you were worried about if there was enough air in this room every Sunday that we came here, right? We don't even have to worry about keeping the doors open, especially in a day like today, right? So realize that substance is everywhere present. And as I've mentioned before, all you have to do really is become aware of it. Focus on it. And yes, and I'll tell you, I'm one of them. Most of the time, you go around life unaware of what you're thinking, right? Unaware that subconscious that's in you, and it could be from things that happened as you were growing up, and you are kind of, I'm going to say, built a certain way. And we are built with a sense of lack consciousness. And we need to make a conscious effort to change that. Now, I mentioned about how substance is everywhere present. And Charles Fillmore actually in his book mentions this, and I know if you've heard it in other times, because it's come up, that having the substance all around you and not being aware of it is kind of like the fish asking, where is the water? Think about that, right? So that's what we need to do for ourselves, and be conscious that substance is everywhere present. And all we have to do is change our mindset, focus on that prosperity consciousness, and things will be coming your way. And I want to leave you with, for this point, with an affirmation that we can all do so that we can decide and proclaim prosperity for ourselves. I'll read it first and then we'll read it together. I will live in the consciousness of prosperity from this point forth. Together. I will live in the consciousness of prosperity from this point forth. Does that feel good? I don't know. I feel like we need to say it again. Say it like you mean it. All right? And when I say it like you mean it, it doesn't mean you have to be louder. Just mean it, okay? Let's say it together. I will live in the consciousness of prosperity from this point forth. Amen. So after deciding and proclaiming to focus on prosperity, step number 2, dedicate yourself to divine guidance. What do you think I mean by that? Divine guidance means not to make decisions from lack consciousness, not to make decisions from your ego, but to really go within. Listen to your inner voice, to your inner Christ, and make those decisions from that point, from that place. And we know that when you do that, when you're following divine guidance, for the most part, things tend to flow a little smoother in life. Has anybody had that experience here, I hope? Right? I know I have. Now, if you want to have a couple of steps, extra steps to hold on to as far as following divine guidance, let's start with using one of our 12 powers from Charles Fillmore. The power of strength, which is the power to endure and to stay the course. So if you want to follow divine guidance, start with that intention, that you want to stay the course with it. And not only that, and you know what I'm going to say next. What do you do if you want to really follow divine guidance? Principle number 4, pray and meditate. If you do a consistent, disciplined meditation daily, and I mean daily, and I know I'm one of them. Sometimes you get up because you got up a little later, or just it's a little too cold, and you're just like, I don't feel like praying or meditating this morning. I'm going to give you an out. Okay, wait till it warms up. The middle of the day. Take some time. Do that prayer and meditation. And I know some of you like to do it at night before you go to bed, right? And if you really want to do better, do both, right? As soon as you get up in the morning and right before you go to bed. They say that those are the best times, right before you fall asleep and you start slowly getting into that slumber. That's the best time to pray and do affirmations the way we do in Unity. And the same when you first wake up in the morning, before you're completely awake, say some meditations, say some prayers, some affirmations. I've said it before here. My easiest way to do, for me, affirmations is just to be grateful. What am I grateful for each morning that I get up? What am I grateful for each night before I go to bed? And yes, some of you are not going to like this, but how about being grateful for those things you thought did not go so well during the day? You know that we learn the most from those hard times, right? And if you're human, you've experienced hard times. I mean, we can't get away from it, right? We talk about the good and the bad. Well, let's learn from both of them, right? I'd like to add that Dr. Paul Hasselbeck, in his book Power Up, tells us that the power of strength and the power of faith are connected. Faith and strength are connected. He says the more we really believe in something, the easier it is to support and sustain. So if you put faith to what you're doing, what you're following, it'll be easier to keep going with it, right? Now, I mentioned, of course, the prayer and meditation, and I said it, and I'll say it again, be consistent with it. If you're not consistent with it, it's not going to have the same effect. And yes, doing it sometimes is better than not doing it at all, right? But you know, and you've experienced it, and not just in prayer, but in other things in life, that if you're consistent with it, you get better at it, right? And when you're consistent with prayer, it makes it easy to listen to that divine guidance. Because some of you may be asking right now, how do I know that it's divine guidance? Well, my first thought is to say, the more you practice your prayers and meditation, the easier it'll get for you to really know when it is the right thing for you to do, when it is truly divinely guided. I hope you understand that. Now, to help you with this divine guidance, I have another affirmation, and I'll say it first and we'll say it together. I am aligned with the presence of God within. Let's say it together. I am aligned with the presence of God within. Amen. After deciding and proclaiming to focus on your prosperity, dedicating yourself to divine guidance, third step is to go and have a deeper and thorough cleansing of yourself. And what I mean by that is get rid of all those thoughts of lack and limitation. That's the kind of cleansing I want to talk about right now. As I said it, a lot of us grew up with that thought of lack and limitation for whatever reasons. So the best thing for us to do is to remove them, right? Or at least help yourself to put them kind of more in the back burner, and so you can have a better experience of the affirmations. That's why we do in Unity, we do denials and affirmations. The denial is to deny that anything has any power over us. So in this case, I would say, deny that your lack consciousness has any power over you. And then affirm the truth for yourself. Who likes that? I hope so. I hope so. Now, I'd like to bring up a few of the Beatitudes from Matthew 5:3-6, which is where I get this idea from. And we read, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And some of you, I'm sure, have heard of Emmett Fox. He says that blessed are the poor in spirit is recognizing your total dependence on God, emptying yourself of ego, pride, and self-will, and letting go of preconceived ideas to become receptive to divine guidance, which unlocks the blessings of the kingdom of heaven. That kingdom of heaven is spiritual abundance that I'm talking about. And we read on, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And this is about a state of humility, admitting that you have no inherent spiritual wealth and need God's help. Anything wrong with needing God's help? I hope you don't feel like that, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Now, this is the desire to align one's life with what is right and lasting. And with this attitude, to have the attitude of mind that brings with it the blessing of fulfillment. So if you hunger for divine guidance, right? You could easily be fulfilled. Now, this is what I think about what the Beatitudes are about. That if you don't do anything other, let me say that again. If you do anything other than to find God, experience the Christ within, to align yourself with your divine, you're doing it wrong, I'm going to say it. And this might actually affect others wrongly. It's better to go within to really follow that divine guidance so that you know that everything that you are doing is not only for your good, but for everyone's good, right? We say here in Unity that we are all one, right? Who really, really, truly understands that? And you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. If we truly are one, whatever you do to yourself, you're doing to others. Whatever you do to others, you're doing it to yourself, right? Hold on to that thought, and it'll be easier for you to be a beacon of light to all those around you. Now, I like to work on this cleansing that I'm talking about. The affirmation that I have for this, if I may have it, yes. I'll say it first, and then we can say it together. I release my thoughts of lack and limitation and accept prosperity into my life. Let's say that together. I release my thoughts of lack and limitation and accept prosperity into my life. Let's say again, I accept prosperity into my life together. I accept prosperity into my life. Wonderful. So we've decided to proclaim the focus of prosperity, to dedicate ourselves to divine guidance, to do a cleansing of what we don't need. And guess what the next step is? To circulate that abundance. Who feels like that's the right thing to do? Now, what do I mean by circulate abundance? We talk about here about giving and receiving, right? And you've heard us say before, it is better to give than to receive, right? I don't 100% agree with that. I like the way Charles Fillmore says that it is a blessing, more of a blessing to give than to receive. I think that has a nicer connotation to it. But even though I'm saying this, what goes around comes around, right? So it's not good just to give and give and give and not receive. And the reason I'm mentioning this here is because I know there's a lot of us here that are givers, and we want to give ourselves. And we don't realize that if we just give and not give back, we are going to be depleted, aren't we? I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I know a few people that refuse to receive from anybody. I learned one day that if you look at it this way, if you keep somebody from giving you something, you're denying them that pleasure of giving. Think about that. And if you are receiving, you are balancing that cycle, right? Everything in this world is about cycle, right? We have the winter, we go through spring, summer, fall, and then we start again. We have the day, then we have the night, and then it starts again. Everything's in cycles. I was going to say something else about cycles, but it's probably not a good thing. Anyway. So an easy way to remind yourself to circulate this abundance is to just think of the word generosity. Just think about being generous with your time, generous with your talents, and as we say here, generous with your treasures, right? It goes back to when we give, and we give with joy, it brings us even more joy, and we can affect those around us. I'm trying to remember, there was some commercial about giving it forward. I think that's what they called it, right? Pay it forward, thank you. And by the same token, and I know we've experienced that, if you're in a store or something and you witness somebody doing something good for somebody else, that kind of makes you want to do it for somebody else also, right? It's kind of contagious. That's a good kind of virus that we want to have, right? I won't go any further with that. So to practice in your mind to bring to that voice to power, the affirmation I have for circulating abundance is, I live my life from the awareness of infinite abundance. Ready? Let's say it together. I live my life from the awareness of infinite abundance. So yes, I'm thinking for myself about one of the first decisions that I made, probably the first decision that I made when I came here to Orlando from New York, besides getting away from the cold, was that I was going to have fun. And I was thinking about this, it's like, I was proclaiming for myself a type of abundance, right? I was proclaiming for myself the prosperity of joy. And that led me to find my spiritual path. I started reading books that taught me about spirituality, taught me about how to listen to your inner self. Coming here to Unity, I learned how to pray and meditate in different ways. And there's different ways to pray and meditate, as we all know, right? For some of you, it'll be easy to sit down, maybe put a little music in the background, and just go within in silence and not worry about what your thoughts are. But I've said it here before, meditation could be if you are doing something you love to do, especially if it's a physical thing. It could be dancing, it could be playing an instrument, it could be jogging. I've said it here before, I love riding my bicycle. And to me, that's a type of meditation. I just love to get out there. I would not have done it this morning if it was my day to do it. Just so you know. I have a limit. But yes, during all this, of course, I learned about our denials and affirmation, and that I knew that I had to release things that I did not care for. I wanted to release those thoughts of lack and limitation. And I'm not going to say that it was easy. It took me a while. I found unity about 20 plus years ago. And it took me quite a while to get out of that lack consciousness. I had to just have faith that whatever I was doing was eventually going to shift my mindset. And one of the things, and it has to do, I think, with about being generous, is the tithing that we talk about in churches. And tithing doesn't have to do with just money again. It's about your time, it's about your talents. And the more I give, the more I was blessed. Both money and both with my time and my treasures. Some of you know that for a while, I was one of the people right back there, like these wonderful people are with the technology helping us so that you can hear me, so that you can see these slides, so that they can help the musicians be heard better. All those little things added, and I learned how to pray. I learned how to cleanse my mind of those negative thoughts. And I saw prosperity circulating in my life. And that included relationships. I'm not going to go into it. One thing led to another. I met the woman who would become my wife, and then we had two beautiful young girls. Now they're grown women doing their thing. And I owe it all to me following my divine guidance. I did not know it at first that that's what I was doing, but something told me, let's do this, let's do that. One of the things after this, I promise I'll stop with all this. Before coming to Orlando, as I say, I attempted to be a musician, and then I moved on to become an audio engineer. And when I came to Orlando, I couldn't find anything right off the bat. And what's the easiest job to get here in Orlando? Hotels, right? And I became a front desk clerk, you know, the people that check in you into your room and all that. And thinking back, that was actually a blessing because it helped me to kind of experience people face to face. Yes, because as some of you know, I was very shy. I would be here sweating it right now or shaking, and I had to get used to that. And that helped me actually. And that taught me to experience people. And actually, what I had said that I wanted to have fun, working at that hotels, helped me to have fun with those coworkers, the people that I met from all over the world. Of course, most of the people that come to Orlando, and I don't know if it's changed much, are either from England, from Canada, or from Brazil. But it gave me a chance to experience other people, to have fun with everyone. And I think that helped me once I got back to my career. And a lot of you know that I spent almost 3 decades at the Orange County Convention Center. It gave me a different mindset, a different outlook on life. So I actually had fun also while I was doing my job of audio engineer, even though we were taking care of lighting also and the video stuff. So yes, if you think about what you've been going through, what have you proclaimed for yourself? Are you really following that divine guidance? Are you going through the steps? We call ourselves here in Unity Practical Christianity, right? So let's just work these steps and let them come to you. Whatever is that you're supposed to experience in life will come your way. even if you don't realize that that is happening to you. So, as a reminder, decide and proclaim to speak word to power. Proclaim that prosperity for you. And you can follow that affirmation. I will live in the consciousness of prosperity from this point forth. Dedicate yourself to divine guidance. Seek the kingdom first, right? And affirm, I am aligned with the presence of God within. And do a deep cleansing if you need to. Get rid of that lack consciousness. And affirm, I release my thoughts of lack and limitation and accept prosperity into my life. Bye-bye. Release, there you go. Oh, I could stop right now. So last but not least, be generous, circulate abundance, and affirm, I live my life from the awareness of infinite abundance. Let's say that together again. I live my life from the awareness of infinite abundance. Let's go into prayer. If you wish to close your eyes, and just relax right where you are. Just become aware of your breath as it gently flows in and out. We know that that's the life of spirit flowing in and through you. If there are any other sensations in your body, be okay with them. Just keep relaxing as you keep focusing on, on your breath. We have been here to proclaim prosperity for ourselves. Just consider that for a moment. And even better, I want you to take your awareness down to your heart. If you need to touch your heart to bring that awareness to it. Now bring to mind someone that brings you joy, someone that you love. It could be a beloved pet. Or it could be a place you love to go to and just be in nature. Let that feeling permeate your body as you keep focusing on your heart. Feel into that. Just keep focusing on that awareness, that joy, that person, that pet, that situation or that place brings to you. Keep holding on to that. And proclaim that you will focus on prosperity from this point forth. And as you keep focusing on your sensations in your body of joy, of love, know that this helps you align yourself with the divine so you can become a witness to your guidance, to your own Christ consciousness, so that you may live and have your being from this guidance so you can move through the day, through the week, through the year with this intention of letting yourself be guided into all that you do, into all that you are. And as you keep focusing on that sensation, release any concerns you may have right now. Know that they have no power over you. Release and let them go. Release that sense of lack, that sense of limitation. And hold on to your sense of joy, of prosperity, of abundance in every area of your life. Repeat with me. I am prosperous together. I am prosperous. I live in prosperity together. I live in prosperity. I am prosperity together. I am prosperity. Keep holding on to this sensation, this feeling, as we go into the silence. And as you start coming back, keep holding on to that awareness of prosperity within you. Be generous with it. Be open with it. And be willing to receive as well of this prosperity. And as we come back, go with these thoughts. I praise the awareness of who I am in spirit and move forward in faith and strength. Amen.